And I guess since I didn't finish the story about last year, last year I was hanging out with somebody and this one, what's her name, and they kept putting drugs in my tobacco. They were putting drugs in my food, and it was because I had just moved this camper up to this community, and they were trying to expose me to the people that live around here. And so anyway, so they were drugging me. They were drugging me a lot, and I ended up going down to Phoenix, and I got a job sweeping parking lots with. And what you would do is you'd get out and you'd blow with a backpack blower, and then after you blow the parking lot, you hop in the truck and you go around. It's got like a big vacuum on it, and it sucks up all the stuff. You blow stuff away from the curb and then suck it up with the truck. Well, anyways, I had started working there, and they had just put me into my own truck, and I really wanted that job. I didn't want that. There's no way I would have screwed that up. Not intentionally. There's no way I would have used drugs or anything like that. But one night they had just put me into my own truck, into a company vehicle, and I really wanted that job to work. But one night I ended up blowing the parking lot. I had parked the truck, I parked the truck at there was the edge of the parking lot, and then there was a road, and then there was apartments on the other side of the road. Well, I went around and blew all the curbs, and I didn't see anybody over by the truck. I didn't see anybody over there, but of course I was working, and so it's not like I was focused on it the whole time. And man, I had a brisk iced tea. I had drank like half the brisk iced tea. Well, when I got back to the truck to sweep, to vacuum all the stuff, to vacuum the parking lot, I went ahead and drank the rest of that iced tea. Oh man, huge mistake. Huge mistake. I I was spun out. I mean, I was seriously spun out like that. I don't know how much drugs they put in that thing, but I didn't sleep for 2 days after that. And speaking of drugs, let's just get the truth out there. Let's be straight up, let's be honest, and let's just get it out there. So, when it comes to drugs, I've used intentionally, on my own free will, once in Vegas, just like four of the 6 times were just last year. Right after they had drugged me like 15 times in a month. And after that, it was like that chemical dependency. Everything was falling apart here. I ended up losing my job at the one place, and I ended up just taking off, and I rode a bicycle down to California. But after that, I was like kind of fiending for some more. Which is unfortunate because I was trying to stay sober, but it's like they kept drugging me. And I ended up, as a result of it, I ended up getting high 4 times intentionally. But it happened once in Vegas, once here, right here on this property, and twice in California. And then the only other times I had used drugs intentionally in the last like 14, 15 years was, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. Probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It was once in Oregon with some random guy I didn't even know. And then that same year, once in Phoenix with I'm not even going to say names, but with what's her name and her boyfriend. Those are the 6 times, 6 afternoons, 6 days, but 6 total events in the entirety of my adult life. In the last 14 years, in my entire adult life, there was 6 specific events that I intentionally used drugs. And I did, it's just the truth. So, and like I said, 4 of the 6 times was just last year. And they would not have even happened had they not drugged me as many times as they did. And it was like, after that, I'm like, I'm on. Seems like I'm high all the time, anyways. when because of because I drank a soda, because I drank an iced tea, because I left, because I stopped at some place and ate a burger. You know what I mean? It's just been, oh, it's so frustrating too. That'll really drive you nuts. That'll really drive you nuts. Like, especially if you don't want to get high. If you don't want to be, if you're trying to stay sober and keep your head straight and just better your life and try and get your stuff together. Oh, that can just absolutely devastate you. That it's like just a total menace. So, speaking of menacing society, just in Kansas earlier this year, some lady happened. She said, "I happened to be riding by. I went from. I was in what was the name of that town? Lawrence, Kansas, and I was hanging out at the park, and I ended up going up to the store to get some food. And you kind of got to ride through town. Well, some lady was like, she said, it seemed like she kind of said it like purposely loud as I was passing by because she wanted me to hear it. I don't know. But she was like talking to whoever lived in that house. And it seemed like she didn't live there, but she was talking to the homeowner that did live there. And it seemed like she was showing her something. And she was like, yeah, that guy's a menace to society. He's just a horrible person. Those were her exact words, and man, I thought about that. I was like, and I kind of thought, what if she's talking about me, Like, what if she was talking about me? That just seems crazy. But think about it, like, if I was a menace to society, I would poison someone who's never poisoned anyone. I would break something for no reason that doesn't need to be broken. If I was a menace to society, I would harass somebody who's not harassing anyone. If I was a menace to society, I would drug someone who's trying to stay sober. If I was a menace to society, oh, that's right, I would do what the Stalkers have been doing, not what I've been doing, Because I'm not menacing anybody. I want you to do me a favor. Go around and ask every single person in the world, how have they been menaced by Nick Nelson today? And there's not a single person on the planet that would have a legitimate reason, why they have personally been menaced by Nick Nelson. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know, I kind of thought that if you were a horrible person, like, wouldn't you have to be doing something that's, I don't know, horrible? That might kind of help the case a little bit, I don't know. Show me a guy who hasn't caused any problems in the last 14 years, and I'm not sure horrible is how I would describe that person. Somebody who's not doing anything wrong, somebody who's not causing any problems, somebody who's not victimizing people or not breaking stuff or not vandalizing things or not, there's a million things I can think of right off the top of my head that would be a horrible thing to go out and do. Show me a guy who's not doing any of those things, and horrible is probably not how I would describe him. I don't know. Seems like common sense to me, but yeah. So crazy. Speaking of poisonings, oh my gosh, that you would not believe all the stuff that these stalkers have been getting away with. If anybody has been getting away with stuff, it's them. Oh my gosh. When I was in Ida, they used to put battery acid in my water bottles. Oh my, you never had a headache before in your life until you've drank a water bottle with whatever they put in that stuff. I puked up a bunch of blood. Oh my God. I rode across some random guy sitting out in front of Albertsons, the older guy with a mustache and one leg living in a van. He asked me if I wanted to go fishing. I was homeless at the time, and I was like, why not? I had nothing better to do, and so I went with him. Oh my God, that was a huge mistake because I rode all the way across town to meet up with him that morning. As I was loading my bike on the back of his van, he swapped out my water bottle. I set my water bottle in the middle console. He swapped it out with a different one. And when I got in the van, I was thirsty. I chugged that bottle of water. Oh my God. From that moment on until we got to the camp spot, I started getting the worst headache. You've never had a headache before in your life until you've dealt with this. Oh my gosh, that was brutal. I started carrying stuff. We started to unload the van, and I'm carrying stuff down this hill, and I would set it down, come back up for more. I made 3 trips, and by the third trip, oh man, my head was gonna explode. My head hurt so bad I couldn't stand up anymore. I got to the bottom of the hill that third time. I just like fell on top of my stuff and just laid there. And I asked the guy, I said, "Hey man, do you got some Tylenol, Advil, ibuprofen, something? Do you have any water? Please give me something. Please. I'm begging you." I could not stand up. My head was gonna explode. That's how bad it was. I mean, it's seriously, my head was gonna explode. That was horrible. And so he brought some Advil, and I drank it with some water. Oh man, I drank this, right? 5 minutes later, I rolled over and it was blood. It was red. It was just like, I couldn't eat for a week after that. My throat, it hurt to swallow for a month. I mean, it was horrible. That was horrible. And then it happened 3 times before I got back to Arizona. It happened in Utah twice. It happened twice in Utah. It happened again with the water bottle once. And then I got to southern Utah to some random gas station, and somebody had went ahead of me and talked to the people at the gas station. I don't even know what they told them, but when I got there, he offered me a free cup of coffee, and I took 1 sip, and at that point I was well aware of the taste of acid. I took 1 sip of it, and the feeling you get on your tongue, the feeling your teeth, your mouth, I spit it out and dumped out the rest of the cup. But oh man, they've been getting, if anybody has been getting away with a lot, it's been them. They've been getting away with so much. Before I left Arizona 6-7 years ago, man, they like I said, they were putting drugs in everything. They put rattlesnake venom in my coffee creamer. They put antifreeze in my drinks. I think I bought one of those little things of Fireball, because I hadn't drank in like a year at that point, and I was cutting firewood. I was just working. I was just working every single day. That's all I did. Well, so anyways, one day I had the next day off, so I bought a thing of Fireball. I had like 1 drink with some Pepsi, and that was it. And then I put it on the shelf. I didn't come back to it until like a week later. And a week later, I worked all week. Same thing. A week later, I made 1 drink. Just 1. And that was it. I didn't even notice anything. I just went to sleep. Oh my God, the next morning I thought my back was broken. Oh, I thought my back was broken. I thought I broke my back the day before, because unloading firewood all day, or I pulled a muscle or something. Oh my God, I couldn't even stand up straight. It hurt so bad to stand up straight. I was like hunched over. I was like all hunchback, and I didn't feel right for a month after that. Well, anyways, thank God I only had one little shot out of that whole thing. I probably would have been dead if I drank the whole thing, but I only had 1 little drink. I just had 1 drink right before bed, and that was it. But I thought my back was broken. I don't know what that's called, but in the middle, to the right, about 2/3 of the way down, it was right there. That's what it was. It was right there. It took me most of that day to figure out that, yeah, that's what it was. It wasn't like I didn't break my back. It wasn't a pulled muscle. It was that organ it was whatever that is, your kidney, your liver, something. Oh man, that was painful. That was so bad. That was like, I don't know, man. The antifreeze and the battery acid, those were the most painful. And the chlorine in Salt Lake City, that was you never had a sore throat in your life. They put chlorine up my nose while I was sleeping. There was a snowstorm. I was passing through. After I left Arkansas, when I was on my way to Portland, I was going. I stopped at a truck stop to sleep in Salt Lake City. They put some. I was laying on my back sleeping. They put something up my. If you've ever smelled chlorine, you know what it tastes like. Let me just say that. That's all there is to it. Oh, that was painful. It hurt to swallow for weeks after that. That hurts. That seriously hurts. The other thing that hurts is when they put rattlesnake venom in the coffee creamer. Oh man, because what happens? You wouldn't think that. Well, what happens is you don't even notice in the daytime while you're awake. You'd never even know. But at nighttime when you try to go to sleep, like every hour you wake up with the tingles. You ever had the tingles? You ever sat on your leg the wrong way and you get the tingles? Like, and then it starts to hurt. Your hands, your feet, your arms, your legs. Oh, like every hour. You try to go to sleep, you fall asleep, and then like an hour later you wake up because it hurts so bad. You gotta just get the blood. That's the only solution. You just start moving. You gotta do jumping jacks or something. You like wake up, get the blood flowing, and then the pain goes away. And then you lay back down to go to sleep, and then an hour and a half later, you wake up again because it hurts so bad, and so you gotta you start. Oh man, that sucks. That sucks. And what the thing was right about that time, I noticed I had powdered coffee creamer, and I noticed that it was all clumpy. Like I had just opened it the day before, and all of a sudden it was all clumpy. Like there was a big old heart, like moisture had gotten in there. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just took a spoon and squish it up, and I made a cup of coffee. I didn't think much of it at the time, but it's like afterwards you realize like, whoa, don't no, that has to be what happened. There's no other explanation, But yeah, I could talk all day about the stuff that I mean, those are the worst things, but those are not. There's been hundreds of those things over the last. I mean, just a couple months ago in Louisiana, they poisoned the coffee or the tobacco. They poisoned my tobacco. I would buy a can of chew and I had to throw it out like 6 times because I could tell right away. If your ears start ringing, you know that they probably put some kind of pesticides or Roundup or some kind. There's poison that your ears will start ringing and you'll know right away. Well, it'll take you 20 minutes, but you'll figure it out. You'll have to dump the rest of it out and throw it away. Unless you want to be poisoned, but yeah, that is, man, and the funny thing, the ironic thing, the irony in the whole situation is that they run around town and talk to everybody and tell everybody, oh yeah, it's about accountability. Oh man, that's comical, right? Wait a minute. They don't want to be held accountable. They only want to hold you accountable. If it's about them, they don't know what you're talking about. Like, admittedly, I've probably committed 30 felonies in my life, 30, 40 felonies in my life. I mean, that's a fact, it's true. But they have committed thousands, probably 4,000 or 5,000 felonies against me, in the last 14 years. And in the last 14 years, I haven't done anything wrong, like at all, Well, so, okay, like, I understand there's consequences for the things you do, But at what point is the consequence 100 times worse than the offense. You know what I mean? That's really what it comes to. It's like, where does the balance? When does the where do things balance out at? Because is it about accountability, or is it about? If it was about accountability, then everybody would be accountable. You know, and the stuff that they've been doing, like almost everything that they've been doing to me, is 100 times worse than anything I've ever done to anybody. I've never poisoned a single person anywhere on the planet as long as I've been alive. I've never poisoned anybody, not even once ever, you know? And you're trying to tell me that attempted murder is worse than something that I've done in my lifetime? What are you crazy? What are you, nuts? The stuff that they've done is 100 times worse than anything I've ever done, and they've done 100 times more of it than any. If you take every single thing I ever did wrong in my life, back when I was a teenager, you put it all together and add it all up, and it's like comparing, you know, it's like comparing a cup of water to the Lake Pleasant. I mean, it's just been insane. Like, at what point, there are, and there needs to be, and that there rightfully should be consequences for your actions, for every decision you make, you know. But at what point is it like the consequence is, if the reaction to something is so far worse that it's just so outrageously worse than the actual, then how, that's like, then it doesn't even make sense. There's nothing reasonable about it. There's nothing reasonable about it. I mean, it's just crazy. It really is. It's just crazy, you know. And then for them to go around and do all these manipulations and lies and lie to people and to try and make things worse than they already are. And it's like it's one thing, if it's actually true, then okay. There's nothing. Then okay. There's consequences for everything. And if it's actually true, then let it. Then that's rightfully so. And there's not, that's okay. But if they're going around just manipulating and drugging and poisoning and twisting things around and lying to people and trying to create, and if they're like, participating in a conspiracy and trying to manipulate the thing and blow everything way out of proportion and make it seem like things happened that didn't even actually happen, and then that's like, whoa. I don't mind paying the consequence. I don't mind dealing with the consequences of the choices I did make. There's nothing wrong with that. I got no problem with that, But I don't want to deal with the consequences of things I didn't even do, So, I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's crazy. There's nothing reasonable about that, But that's been. I mean, it's nuts, man. It's nuts. If it's actually true, then okay, okay, I'll deal with that, But if they're just lying and manipulating and twisting things around and just blowing things out of proportion and making, it's like, no, that's. I don't even want to talk about this stuff. I don't want, I would rather just not even have this conversation at all. But if they're going to go around and lie to people, if it goes completely unchecked and nobody is telling the truth, then what do people have to compare that to? If they're just, if a group of people puts their head together and decides, hey, let's all get together, let's all tell the same lie. And if you think that doesn't happen, you don't know what goes on in the world. I mean, the fact that it does happen is the reason that it's necessary, because if it's true, great, let the truth stand tall and proud and let it be known. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if people are just lying to people and blowing things out of proportion and manipulating situations and staging fake crimes that didn't even occur and committing fraud and all this other kind of stuff, somebody needs to set the record straight. Somebody needs to put the truth out there. If the only information available to the public are lies, what in the world, what kind of world would we live in? You know? If the only people putting out information are being dishonest and telling a lie or manipulating, somebody needs to put forth the effort and get the truth. If it's true, that's fine. That's all I care. As long as what they're saying is true, then hey, that's cool. You know what I mean? That's cool. As long as it's true, great. If they're just lying and manipulating and twisting stuff around, then no, that's I don't. Why should I have to deal with the consequences of something I didn't do? You know? Why should I have to deal with the consequences of somebody else telling a lie? That's but that's how it is. That's how it is, though, or has been, or at least that's what people want me to think. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe people are just, I don't. Who knows? Or what about that girl up in Oregon? So I was hanging out with this one chick. She was I don't know how else would you describe her. She had really dark skin. She had like really nice young lady, but she was in the wrong lifestyle, and she kind of like crossed my path. She was this black chick that seemed super super nice at first. And so I started talking to her, and she kind of like just popped up in the place where I was at one day, and she kind of started talking to me. So, and then one day she like, well, so we started talking and we were chatting a little bit, and I only knew her for a total of like 2 days out of my entire life, right? But we ended up going for a drive and a bunch. That was when I had that brown truck, and I ended up going to Portland, Oregon, when all that crazy stuff was happening. And she was like, hey, stay here, wait here, I'll be right back. We went to a Fred Meyer. She told me to go to park in a Fred Meyer. She's like, hey, wait here, I'll be right back. Put it this way, she came running out the store with arms full of stuff that still had the tags on it. Oh, man. And what do you do? What do you... Again, I think that they had the only reason they probably had her cross my path. They probably told her to cross my path and to do that, play out that scenario, because once again they were probably trying to portray, present a certain image to the local community, and they were trying to, instigate a problem, create a problem that otherwise would not have existed. And stuff like that, there's just been way too much of that. There's just been way too many coincidences. The last 15 years has just been, especially the last 10, especially the last 5. It seems like things have progressively, it's like things have gotten worse and worse and worse, and things have gotten bigger and worse and worse. It's like, wait a minute. It's like, so I'm not doing anything wrong, It's not like I'm out committing crimes, and it's not like I'm out causing problems. It's not like I'm out doing stupid shit or vandalizing somebody's property or victimizing people, And if you're doing everything you can to stay sober and try and live a respectable life and just be a better human being, then things shouldn't keep getting worse. Like at some point, after all of these thousands of different setups and tests and all this, that, and the other, like if you do nothing wrong, like sooner or later somebody should give you some credit for that. Your life should get better, not worse, And that's why it's like, but I've never made an effort to try and like explain any of the things that have been going on or post to social media, or like I always just kind of like, well, I'll just let my actions speak for themselves, as long as I'm not breaking the law, as long as I'm not causing problems, as long as I'm not doing anything wrong, then I'll just let my actions speak for themselves. And then, at some point, any decent, respectable human being at some point will just give me some credit, will give me the credit I deserve, It's like at some point I would think that people would that people would give you the respect that you've earned. But it's that's why the longer and longer that this stuff goes on, the more ridiculous it seems, because this whole time, as all of these events are happening, I mean, I go out of my way to try and create good karma. I go out of my way to, looking for the next right thing to do, trying to do the right thing in every situation that presents itself. And at the exact same time, things are getting worse and worse and worse. Well, if you're doing the right thing, why are things getting worse? How is that reasonable? It makes no sense at all. I don't get it. Unless somebody's following you around, lying to people, staging fake crimes and doing stuff that had nothing to do with you, and then going around and telling everybody, "Oh yeah, this is that guy. This, we're gonna drug you and expose you to everybody. Oh yeah, this is everything. It's all him.